Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. Jacob, how you doing this evening, sir?
Man, I'm doing about as well as can be. Looking to talk some ball and yeah, let's get it going.
Heck yeah, man. Football, just a nice little escape for a second, right? For sure. I know we got everybody filing in here, and obviously we had a show scheduled last night, gang, and basically I had to take care of some business in Knoxville, and it ran a little longer than I expected. I was going to come sliding in here right about 10 minutes before the show started, and then of course we all know what happened yesterday. So I was like, you know what, man, I'm just not in the mood to talk football. So we decided not to go live, but I appreciate everybody in here asking and all that good stuff. I know M. Smitty, some of this is from yesterday's stream. As it was set up, said, indeed, praying for those families who lost loved ones and at the same time grateful Trump survived. The potential for absolute chaos and violence, if he had not, is something we don't want to see. Amen to that. Amen to that. If we're not going to turn this into what attempted assassination show, but that's very well said, Smitty. Very well said. We'll leave it at that. Mr. Larry Cano says, "Hi, guys. Just checked on YouTube, and the date shows tomorrow for the next show. Prayers to President Trump and the other families affected." Obviously, he had posted that yesterday, so everybody kind of caught on to the reason why we didn't go live, and understandably so. Now, I do want to say this before we talk football. Michael Lombardi tweeted this out. You guys know Michael Lombardi, the former GM for the Browns, obviously spent over 40 years in the league. If you watch this show or listen to this show on a regular basis, you know I talk about Michael Lombardi all the time. Not a big fan of his brash approach, as we say all the time. But, man, hell of a football mind, right? He tweeted out, "Rest in peace, a hero. God bless you." Addison Comperatore, I hope I'm saying that correctly, which is the daughter of Corey Comperatore, who passed away yesterday at the age of 50. Obviously, he was the only casualty, the only casualty that matters, I should say, in the assassination attempt. Lost his life protecting his family. I'm going to just read a little quick statement from his daughters, but this tweet here from his daughter that Michael Lombardi tweeted out said, "I love you, Dad. Thanks for always protecting me." And obviously, a cool little, I guess, collage of pictures there of him. Former, retired fire chief, if I understood it correctly. He was retired. I'm sure, like most fire chiefs, they still hang around and are always looking to serve the community. Just an absolute freaking hero. Yeah, this was the statement from his daughter. And I'm gonna try not to get choked up reading this because, man, I'm a family guy. Family is everything to me. And I don't have children. Unfortunately, my wife and I cannot have children, but I could only imagine what was going through Corey's head at this time. This is what Addison, his daughter, wrote. "Yesterday, time stopped, and when it started again, my family and I started living a real nightmare. What was supposed to be an exciting day that we had all looked forward to, especially my dad, turned into the most traumatizing experiences someone could imagine. I know the media will cover this event, and I'm going to try my best to stay away from looking at everything, especially because I've already seen and lived through it in real time. But I want everyone to know that the media will not cover and will not say about him. He was the best dad a girl could ask for. My sister and I never needed for anything. You call, he would answer, and he would do whatever it is you needed. If he didn't know how, he would figure out how. He could talk and make friends with anyone, which he was doing all day yesterday and loved every minute of it. He was a man of God, loved Jesus fiercely, and also looked after our church and our members as family. The media will not tell you that he died a real life superhero. They're not going to tell you how quickly he threw my mom and I to the ground. They are not going to tell you that he shielded my body from the bullet that came at us. He loved his family. He truly loved us enough to take a real bullet for us. And I wanted nothing more than to cry on him and tell him thank you. I want nothing more than to wake up and for this to not be reality for me and my lost family. We lost a selfless, loving husband, father, brother." So that was a statement, like I said, from his daughter. And obviously, Corey Camperatore, gone at the age of 50. Just an absolute freaking boss man hero right there. And like I said, we're not going to get political. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it at all. What I will say is there were several Packer fans on social media yesterday, and I guarantee you a couple of them are probably watching us right now. It's amazing how people who don't like the content that we as a fan base, Packer Fan Total Access, create, because we're just a group of fans that came together to talk ball and learn ball together, specifically with the Packers. It's amazing how many of them don't like the type of content we create, but somehow, some way, they find themselves in my damn mentions every day. Cracks me up. Absolutely cracks me up. So I just want to say that all of those that were making light of the situation, throwing jokes around, former players too, former Packer players that just thought it was cute to, while an ER doctor, an off-duty ER doctor, was trying to resuscitate, Fire Chief Comperatore with his brains on the bleachers there at the event. They were throwing little jokes around like this. Oh, sorry, I can't believe they missed. You guys are an absolute joke. And they're always the ones that never share their real name. Isn't it amazing how that happens? They're under Hambubger769 or some stupid other Twitter account. You find those people, don't give them a time of day. Just block them. Just block them. What's cool about the block button and the mute button, they cease to exist as soon as you do that. And it made me embarrassed to be a Packer fan, and I know they are this much of the Packer fan base. But you got two girls that lost their hero yesterday, lost their dad, and to have people joking about it is just it's just absolutely wild to me. So I hope they pop up in the comments. That way they can get banned real quick too. That's the goal here anyway. So just want to thank everybody though, like I said, for understanding why we didn't go live yesterday. And like I said, just appreciate everybody, man. It's a cool little group that we've created. I think we all care about one another. We care about our country, and we're going to continue doing that. And if that hurts people's feelings, then you know what? We're just going to move on. That's the way it works. So now let's talk a little football. As hard as that is to do, like right now, I just want to end the stream. I don't even want to talk football, but we're going to do it.
I'd like to comment, but I'm not, because I know that I can't contain the things that I'd like to say. All I will say is rest in peace to that Patriot. And to, like you said, Clayton, anybody that went in there with a joke, ex-players included, just find God, man. Just go find God.
Yeah.
You're lost, bro. You're lost.
No. And one of the reasons they're lost is because there's been this if anyone hasn't caught on yet how corrupt the American media is, then man, you are literally living in fairy tale land. And you guys know I stay away from this stuff because I am of the opinion I'm going to piss off. If you're a Republican, I'm going to piss you off. If you're a Democrat, I'm going to piss you off because I can see as clear as day how they are trying to separate us as a country. And to see how the media covered this stuff right off the bat, it's nothing short of evil. Nothing short of evil.
Well, he just tripped and fell, Clayton. There's some loud pops. Anyways, let's talk football, bro. Let's get over this.
He was injured.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, a guy. Anyway, like I said, just and here's the thing: those people out there that refuse to acknowledge it and refuse to look at it and go, man, this media really is corrupt. They're never going to see it because they don't want to see it. And that's okay, man. Do your thing. Do your thing. You're just not going to do it here. And I will waste every waking second to make sure that you do not have access to watch my show, to make sure you do not have access to follow me on Twitter. I don't care how many burner accounts you create. Doesn't matter to me. But the support, though, has been this. It kind of felt a little bit like I don't want to put it on the same magnitude, although that family right there, it's the Comperatore family, it impacted them way more than anything else they've experienced in their lives. I guarantee you that, losing a father. But what I seen yesterday outside of the knuckleheads was a little bit of unification. And a lot of people came out of the woodworks and was like, hey, now this is wrong. This is wrong. And sometimes the evil just pushed a little too little too hard, right?
Yeah.
But
we'll get on to football in just like 1 second. I will just say one last thing is that I know this fan base. I know that this group, this PTA posse, I know for a fact that if the roles were reversed and Mr. President Joe Biden were to just narrowly escape a assassination, or God forbid were to actually have one, we would not be celebrating. We would not be laughing. We would not be making jokes. We would be, I would be honestly probably emotionally damaged just as much. Well, not just as much, but just as much pretty much because of the country. And so just have a heart, guys. Let's just figure out how the heck do we get back to all that. All right, let's talk football.
Yeah, for sure. You say that, and then it triggers a thought for me. But I will say this, man. It was a Democratic governor, I think, that addressed the media in Pennsylvania, I believe it was, or wherever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, hell of a job. Done great. You could tell that man, to me, that man seems like he cares. Now, everything leading up to that point, everyone referring to a political candidate as Hitler and all these other, it's just like, what are you even? So there's good people. I firmly believe there's good people on both sides. I will never stop giving up hope there. But boy, oh boy, do the bad ones show their ass in a time when a country needs to be unified. That's for sure. So anyway, let's talk some ball. So we're getting ready to start up camp here. What, in 3 days? I think they're going to report. I think the quarterbacks report on that day too, if I remember correctly. So Jordan Love will be in the house on the 17th. Who knows? We might get us a new contract coming down the pike. We'll see. But anyway, what I like to do is we get ready to wrap up this offseason. We are going to hit eventually. It's going to be here in the next day or two. We got to. We're going to hit the huge win over the Cowboys in the playoffs. And we're also going to show the tough loss there to the 49ers. Although I tell you, when I look back on that Niners game, Jacob, I don't look up and go, man, that sucked. I mean, it sucked, but it's like we went toe-to-toe with arguably the second best team in the league, right? With the youngest roster, which is just wild. So we will hit on that one as well, and that'll kind of wrap up that rewind, if you will, where we're going back and watching last year's games. But as we get ready for camp, we're just going to hit on a few articles that I thought were really cool, because I think it's important to reflect back on the past and some of these rivalries that are so great across the league. 33rd Team put a great article out here. This was by Marcus Mosher. And this is what he said in this article: ranking NFL's top 10 non-division rivalries in league history. So obviously the division rivalries are the heated ones, right? We talk about Packers, Bears. My most hated rivalry isn't the Bears personally. I can't stand the Vikings. That's just me personally. They have never won anything, and they were the epitome of being born on third base and act like they hit a triple. Like they have never accomplished anything, and they kind of walk around with their chest out. But the Bears, I've got kind of this respect for, although it is fun to make fun of them here recently, how bad run their organization is. And the Detroit Lions, man, the fans that have hung around, that always filled in the gap there. Obviously, when the team was absolute booty cheeks, it's cool to see them kind of get a little bit all right there. Although the Packers are going to knock them off this year, I'm kind of going out on the limb saying that. But outside of those division rivalries, what are the best rivalries in the league? Right. So let's just go through the countdown here. They've got number 10, Patriots.
Can I say one thing real quick? Just real quick.
Yeah, man.
To the whole, because like I would say not every, but most Packer fans would acknowledge that, like we just talked about, the Bears Packers, that's it. That's the rivalry. But the Viking fans are so annoying. And I live in Hudson, Wisconsin, which is a stone's throw. You have to throw a rock across the St. Croix River, and then you get right into Minnesota. It's 20 minutes away from St. Paul, 30 minutes away from Minneapolis, all the stuff, craziness that happened with all that. I'm telling you, as a Packer fan that lives on the west side of Wisconsin, and I know that there's thousands, if not millions, of people that are in my shoes, we hate the Vikings so much just because of the fact, not only because, like you talked about, they're like that red-headed stepchild that you don't really like, that you got bought into. I got to watch all their freaking sports I got to watch all the Minnesota weather. I got to watch the Twins and the Vikings and the Minnesota Wild and the freaking Lynx. You think I want to watch the Lynx? Dude, and I got to sit here and listen to these jabronis talking about how we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You've been to 4 Super Bowls. You couldn't close the deal one time. You guys have had some of the best players at any position ever in the history of the game, and you still can't keep your guys out of jail or a grave. I'm just saying, you got to stop talking all that smack. I'm just saying.
Man, what the Vikings needed some Botox. See this ad down here at the bottom? They need some Botox for their organization is what they need.
Which one?
Right down here. Yeah, you see that? So, yeah, sponsor the show, Botox.
Too old for this knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, too old for this says, I live in St. Paul. I can vouch for everything Jacob's saying. Oh, man. So, number 10, Patriots versus Giants. Obviously, they had that Eli Manning owned Tom Brady, which is hilarious to think about. Pretty cool rivalry there. Number 9, Browns versus the Lions. That goes all the way back to like 1952 and 1958. An extremely old rivalry there. Number 8, Patriots versus the Ravens. You know, one of my favorite memories of playoff football was when the Patriots defeated the Baltimore Ravens. It was somewhere around 2012, 2014, somewhere in that range. It was the infamous game where they took a Nick Saban tactic and put an extra offensive lineman in, but actually made him eligible, or they did a backside throw where they actually threw to the tackle, but the rules allowed them to throw to a tackle as opposed to, you know, it having to be an even set. They later had to change the rules because of that play. That was a fun game to watch. So the Patriots-Ravens, pretty cool rivalry there as well. Now, it kind of goes back further than that too, all the way back to 2009. But number 7, Bills versus Chiefs. I imagine that's from the 90s, right? Actually, it goes way back. So they're saying, while many believe this rivalry between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, the Chiefs and Bills first met way back in 1960 when the Chiefs were actually named the Dallas Texans. These two teams met 19 times from 1960 to 1969, including in the 1966 AFL championship game. And it goes on to talk about who won that game, blah, 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 blah. So kind of cool, Bills versus Chiefs. I didn't see that as a big rivalry, but I guarantee if you climb back into the 60s, it's there. Number 6, Patriots versus the Colts. Man, oh, man. I remember the first, and these are just triggering thoughts, memories, right? The first memory that came to me, Mandy and I were just dating. She was working in the mall here in Johnson City. I was living in Knoxville, and I would come into town on Friday or Saturday, and she would be working a day shift or whatever. And there was playoff football on, and it was Patriots Colts in the snow at Foxborough, Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. And I remember hanging out with all the other dads and all the other husbands around a TV near a kiosk, and there was probably 40 of us hovering around that TV, a little tiny TV, and we were watching. Guys, I remember people go to the vending machine. They would go down to this little restaurant that served out. Like, hey, you guys, anything? I'm gonna go on a run real quick, and they would bring back like snacks and drinks, and we sat around and watched that while all the ladies shopped. It was absolutely awesome. But Patriots versus Colts. Tom Brady versus obviously Peyton Manning, just a great rivalry. Number 5, the first one that the Packers appear on. This is Cowboys versus Packers. Series record. The Packers lead this series 22-17. So they played 39 games. It says there have been so many great games between these two teams that it's hard to list them all. One of their very first meetings occurred in the NFL championship game in 1967, otherwise known as the Ice Bowl. The winner would take on the AFL champion in Super Bowl II. The Packers won the game on a quarterback sneak by Bart Starr to take a 20-17 lead with just 13 seconds remaining. The Packers and Cowboys have met 9 times in the playoffs, and almost all of them have been noticeable. They met in the postseason in 3 straight seasons in the 90s, with Dallas winning all 3 contests. But the Packers have had the upper hand as of late, winning the last 3 postseason games, including their 2023 matchup in Dallas. Jacob, you got the floor, sir. When you think Cowboys versus Packers, obviously the Ice Bowl, us being a bunch of history nuts, that pops up. But what's the other first memory that kind of comes to mind? Packers versus Cowboys rivalry.
Man, I hate it because I have a distant family. My mother's, all my mother's side of the family are from Texas. And of course, they're all diehard Cowboy fans. And we got a little estranged as we went on. But when we were younger, so like all throughout the early 90s, that's when we pretty much got dominated by the Cowboys. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, all that kind of stuff. It seemed like every single playoff game that I remember in my little boy mind that we just got, I remember crying. Remember we were at a hotel one time. We were at the pool, and my dad was watching it with my uncle and everything. And I remember like my dad coming and telling me that we lost, and I just started crying. So like I do not enjoy the Cowboys as an early age, but as it progressed, I started thinking about guys like, wasn't it Martellus Bennett? Is that the guy that made it was Jared Cook, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jared Cook.
Did the Rodgers basically throws across his body. to a diving or a kneeling Jared Cook while setting up the position to make it for the field goal there. Obviously, there's the Des Bryant drop, not drop. There's a lot of different things. There's the Aaron Jones, how he just apparently decides that every time I play the Cowboys, I'm going to score at least 3 tuds, if not 4. There's a lot of memories there that I think are awesome. And so as of late, I'm cool with the Cowboys rivalry. But as a little boy, I hated it immensely.
So let me ask you this, Jacob. You brung up the drop, no drop, Des Bryant play. I've never asked you this, and I want to know, man, what do you think about that play? Was it a catch or was it not a catch?
Whose rules are we following? What rules are we? what year's rules?
Whose rules are we following?
What do you define of? What is this? The Bill Clinton answer? What do we define as? Yeah, or like. You know, I don't know, man. It just depends on what criteria we're looking at. Is it a catch?
Now, I know there's some Packer fans that believe it was a catch. Me personally,
I know Des Bryant believes it's a catch.
He looked like he was going to cry on the field when they went the other way. For me, man, it was real simple. Like, at what point do you say, okay, he's got possession? Now, many people will say, okay, he had it with both hands. He had firm grip on it, right? Okay, that means that when the ball touches both hands, that's when a player has the catch, right? That's basically what you're saying there. Now, think of how many times. Yeah, there Prince hit it. It depends on what your definition of is. The thing I seen with Des Bryant, he goes up, he grabs the ball, he comes down one step, the second step, the ball hits the ground. So it's like, to me, it was an incomplete pass because the ball hit the ground. Like, at what point are you going to say he actually has possession, right? Now, I'm a Packer fan, but I think I've pretty much won over every Cowboy fan that I've broken it down frame by frame with. They're like, all right, I see your point, man. Because if you say that's a catch, then that means the second it touches a receiver's hands, it's a catch. That's the only way that you can justify that actually being a catch, in my opinion. Now, if we're playing backyard ball and that goes up, you kind of feel like, hey, that's a catch, man. Come on. He was reaching for the goal line, right?
Oh, backyard ball. I'm starting to fight if that's not a catch.
Right.
That's a catch, dude.
Exactly.
Jeff agreed with you just as you were saying it. He said he didn't control it to the ground. It's incomplete. And that was clearly in the rules. And I think even now, that's still kind of the rule, right? But it's more of I feel like the rules have gotten so
convoluted, man. The rules remind me. The NFL rules remind me of our government. It's just like they just get the hell out of the way, please. Let us.
Or like when you buy furniture from IKEA and they're like, "Here's your instructions," and it's like this is like halfway true. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Well, we do have a little bit of breaking news, Coach Lynn. If it is true, if there's anybody other than Coach Lynn, I go, let me check this. But I trust Coach Lynn here. I've got a new soundbite. Let's see if this breaking news works here. You ready? Yeah, that's kind of weird, actually. That wasn't what I was expecting. But hey, it'll work. It is what it is. Coach Lynn, here's what Coach Lynn just said. Jordan Addison just arrested for drunk driving by LAX. So Jordan Addison, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, right? Correct. Second-year player. I think he was my top receiver on my board last year, if I remember correctly. I caught a lot of hell for that. That's the reason I remember. But, so that's kind of big news, right, Jacob? Because he's obviously going to be facing some kind of suspension, right? Caldwell Corner says, M. Smitty, it was alleged drunk driving. Smitty wasn't drunk driving. He was saying Smitty, it was alleged drunk driving after he was caught asleep behind a wheel. Nothing confirmed. There you go. Okay, so it's a bad look. Listen, so many people have lost their lives over drunk driving. I don't want to make light of the situation. I will say, though, that obviously if he does face a suspension, they're kind of depending on a young Jordan Addison. There's no doubt about that. So, it did. It kind of did sound like X-Files. That's for sure.
Honestly, though, real quick, that wide receiver 2 in both Detroit and Minnesota is very much up in the air. Because if Jameson Williams doesn't come to perform, and they got like Khalif Raymond as their next guy, and then Minnesota as well, who you think who's next up that's going to really take that position? I mean, you got Justin Jefferson, obviously, but after that, if TJ Hawkinson is hurt, you got Sam Darnold at cornerback. Like, how many times are you going to pound Aaron Jones down the middle? I don't think he's that thunder punch that you're looking for. It's going to be about maybe 3 or 4 games, and he'll be in a boot.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up their PFF real quick. We're right in the middle of this article. God, we're so all over the place tonight. That's all right, though. Let's go to team reports, and we're going to go offensive. Actually, let's just go receiving grade. Let's do it that way. I won't be able to share it on the screen here, but here was their receiving grades. Justin Jefferson, 91.1. Nick Muse only had like one target, so you can't include that. Yeah, TJ Hawkinson, 78.8. Cam Akers, 69.5. These are their offensive grades. I'm sorry. I was supposed to go by receiving. So let's do this. Let me sort it by offense, get a little more organized. Okay, here we go. So TJ Hawkinson, 78.8. Ty Chandler, a halfback, 76.3. It's supposed to be, this is receiving grades. It was sort of by receiving early on, but their next best wide receiver was Jordan Addison at a 68.6. So last year, his receiving grade was 69.7. His overall offensive grade was 68.6. So, not necessarily bad, but definitely not, like a huge impact player. According to PFF, I felt like he played pretty good ball. But I think it will, that kind of upsets the culture a little bit too there, man.
Len was saying too, it's his second driving offense in the last year. He probably will get at least some sort of time.
Wasn't either one it was like street racing or speeding, like going really fast? Am I thinking right?
Are you thinking Rashee Rice, though? That was the guy that went stupid crazy.
That
was KC.
I could have sworn that it was also Jordan Addison had a second. When he says second offense, he said, did he say it was a second drunk driving or?
He said driving offense. So I'm not sure exactly what that was. Afam says Rashee and Addison must be buddies. Here we go. It is too old for this. Thank you. Our chat's so awesome. He was the guy that got pulled over doing like 140, and they're like, my dog's gonna die. Hey, to be honest, if my dog is actually like in a dying position, I'm Dale Earnhardt it all the way to the vet.
I will go to jail for Nitschke. All right. My little dog Nitschke. He runs the show. He's about 10 years old now. On his papers, it says Raymond Nitschke Bailey on his papers. And if something was wrong with him and I needed to get him to the vet quick, they're gonna have. I'm not stopping until I get to the vet. I'm sliding in there sideways, throwing him out the car. Go get help, little buddy, as they cuff me. Right, that's how that will go. So,
Eric Sutherland. There's a big point of it though. His dog was at home.
Oh, well, that's a problem. That can be a problem.
That part's a little hard.
Almighty. Yeah. Hey, fam, was it actually his dog though? Yeah, so, there you go. Yeah. So speeding offense right after he got drafted. So yeah, man, he not looking good, right? Not looking good. And again, I think he was a great talent. I think, did he go to USC? Am I thinking right? He was out of USC, I believe.
I thought he was out of somewhere else, but I could be wrong.
The chat will come up with it in a minute. So
yeah, Jordan Addison, where'd he go to college? Come on, Smitty, hit us up in the chat.
Yeah, Rock Cod said, I thought Addison burned Nixon or Alexander a couple of times last year. He did. He definitely did. He played pretty well against us. Yeah, USC is what they're saying. So, see, we just need to do a show where we just ask the chat questions. Man, we'd have great content.
When it was down to the wire yesterday, me and before the whole thing with Trump happened, me and Emilio were texting. We're like, should we do a show? What will we talk about? And we just went, let's just laugh and talk to the chat. And it probably would have been a great show, Yeah,
everybody's chiming in USC. Appreciate y'all for looking that up. So there you go. That's a little breaking news for you. I got to get a better soundbite than the X-Files for that's damn.
Hold on, try one more time. Let's just see how everybody feels about it.
All right, here we go. One more time. Here we go.
How dare you?
Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Here we go. It's almost like when they show a logo of something, right? And it just flashes up on the screen.
Yeah.
But I think we should just use this one every time we got news.
You can block.
Right there. All right, so, okay, back to the article. So obviously number 5, as far as non-divisional rivalries in the NFL, Cowboys versus Packers. All right, number 4, Steelers versus Raiders. My goodness, bro. Back all the way back in the 70s, obviously. That's when my brother, who just passed away, he's the reason I fell in love with professional football. He was a huge Steelers fan, grew up in the 70s, quite a bit older than I was, and he got me loving football, and he loved it. He fell in love with it because of the 1970s Steelers. He just loved the steel curtain defense. Mean Joe Green.
Okay.
Yeah. Jack Lambert and the crew. They were just the epitome of what a defense should be. Yeah, so number 4
Do you remember
Steelers
that
versus
commercial where Mean Joe Green throws his towel to the kid?
Jersey, right? Close to Jersey.
Is it Jersey? I
I
thought it
think
was a
it's the old
towel.
dirty
Okay.
Jersey. Yeah, it's the Coca-Cola commercial, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
absolutely, man. It's just football is just such a great sport, man. There's so much nostalgia. There's so many like you said, great commercials and the Super Bowl commercials in the '90s were just unbelievable. Nowadays, you find yourself going, oh,
There you go. That's right. Hey, kid.
hey, that's it.
That's right.
All right, so number 4, Steelers versus Raiders. Number 3, Packers versus 49ers. I thought it was cool that the Packers made this list, the top 10 list. They made it twice just to show you kind of some of the rivalries they've created outside of obviously their division. So here is what it says. Series record, the Packers lead the series 38, 34, and 1. So 73 games they played. So the next time these 49er fans come at you, just say, we beat y'all more than y'all beat us, right? So
I would not have expected that. I remember where I was.
Dominated, right?
I was at my friend David's house. David Cordy, what's up, dude? It was maybe, I remember what grade I was in when we watched. I watched when the first time that we lost at home in Lambeau, wasn't it, to Vic in the playoffs? And then it was a few years after that where we lost to, I think we lost to Colin Kaepernick at home, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, it was soul crushing.
Was it at home? I was thinking
pretty sure.
It may
I don't know. I can't remember. I know we lost many times to the freaking 49ers.
It felt like it happened in my living room, bro. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Ron Sample says, why do defenders have their front teeth now? Everybody's missing their teeth in the 70s. I'll never forget on Fox NFL Sunday, which personally, that's my favorite pregame show. I try to watch it every Sunday. I love Howie and Terry and all the guys. I love that Terry Bradshaw talks about Jesus and it just pisses Howie off and pisses other people off. I absolutely love it. But anyway, Howie was on there one day and he smiled and they said, look at those teeth, man. Look at that pretty smile. And Terry Bradshaw said, how many of those are real? I can't remember what Howie said, but it was something like 4. He lost all his teeth playing football, obviously. But yeah, so completely agree with that, Ron. It's weird to see defenders with all their teeth now and absolutely perfect teeth. But here's what the article says about Packers versus 49ers. What you got, Jacob? Go ahead.
No, it's just it just reminded me. Was it Young to Owens over the middle in the Packers playoffs at the last second of the game? That's the one that crushed me. That crushed my soul. I remember that was when I was young enough where I used to cry after Packer games. Like my dad would be like, "You don't cry." I'd be like, "Okay," and I'd go to my room and be like, "Why?"
2-0 for this says takes like 5 seconds to brush 4 teeth. The toothbrush was invented in Kentucky, right, Jacob?
I don't believe that.
Yeah, it was. That's if it was invented anywhere else, they call it the teeth brush. You know what I'm saying, bro? That's like the oldest dad joke on history. As soon as I started, everybody in the chat went, "Oh God!"
That's why alligators are so ornery, because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
Hey, another great movie that needs to be watched before college football season kicks off, no doubt.
That's true.
All right, here's the article. Packers lead the series 38-34 and one tie, obviously 73 games. So they're up 4 games on the 49ers. Says this is one of the NFL's oldest rivalries with these two NFC foes meeting 73 times since 1950. They've met 10 times in the postseason, 5 times since the 2012 season. That is the most ever between 2 teams in the playoffs, and it's not a surprise given how successful each franchise has been. Their most recent playoff contest was during the 2023 season when the number 7 seeded Packers held the lead against the top seeded 49ers going into the fourth quarter. The 49ers found a way to survive and eventually advance to the Super Bowl. The most memorable postseason matchup between these 2 teams was during the 1997 NFC Championship game at Candlestick Park. Here you go. Brett Favre took down Steve Young and helped the Packers advance to the Super Bowl. A year later, they would play in the wild card round, and Terrell Owens would catch a game-winning touchdown to help Young get his only postseason victory over Favre. The Packers, it says, the Packers have not had a lot of luck recently in the postseason against the 49ers, losing all 6 of their recent matchups despite having Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love under center. But with both teams expected to be Super Bowl contenders again in 2024, maybe we'll get another great matchup. I wouldn't be surprised one bit, Jacob. So,
I was looking for That's My Quarterback drop, but apparently I think Tim got rid of it.
I
had to make some room.
We have 43 drops. And every time I delete one, just one, because we're out of space on our program.
That's when we
Just
should
one.
use it.
That's the one that everybody tries to use the next show. I am so bad at this, bro. I'm so bad at this. Anyway.
That's my quarterback.
Let's see here. We've got all kinds of stuff marked here. Let's see, 2-0 for this. I think this is a little earlier, way earlier, wasn't it? Yeah. He said my family in Menominee couldn't even get the Packers game.
That's an hour into Wisconsin, by the way. So yeah. I feel that.
All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, here we go. Rock God said, I think that Reggie Watt's last game as a Packer. That was Reggie Watt's last game as a Packer. Was it really? Because I remember Reggie Watt's last game. I remember watching it in my mom and dad's living room on an old floor model TV, right? It's just, I mean, it's old. It is those that look like a TV was built into a chest. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Back then, you didn't have to worry about anybody stealing TVs. I promise you that.
You couldn't. You needed a truck and 6 guys.
And a dolly and everything else. But, I remember Reggie walking off the field and waving to the crowd and a little bit of snow flying.
Wait a minute. Wasn't Reggie's last game one of the Super Bowls?
No. It was definitely at Lambeau Field. It was at Lambeau Field. And
that's probably right. It would have been 97, right?
That sounds about right. Because I moved out in 2000, 2001, late 2000. So that's probably about right. Yeah. Good old Reggie Watt, man. One of the best to ever do it, dude. Let's see here. Coach Lynn, I'm going to get to that here in a second, Coach. I'm going to keep that one marked, Jacob. Just don't unmark that because I think I could find that on Twitter. I think I actually quote tweeted it. But anyway, number 3 on the list, like I said, 49ers and Packers. Number 2 was Cowboys versus Steelers. And then that one actually goes in the 70s and the 90s, believe it or not. And then number 1 is Cowboys versus 49ers. There's an awesome show, or I don't think it's a Football Life. It might be a Football Life. It's on NFL Network. You could probably find it on YouTube. It's called The Tale of Two Cities, if I remember correctly. And it's basically, I think it's got, what's his name from Roadhouse, the old guy, not Patrick Swayze, but
Sam
Elliott. Sam Elliott is narrating as if he's a fan of the Cowboys. And then there's another guy, it might be like Paul Rudd or someone is narrating as a fan of the 49ers. And they're just talking trash back and forth. And it tells the story of the rivalry. It's a 2-parter. It's really good. Really good. I know awesome. Most Packer fans hate Cowboys and 49ers, but if you watch that, it's really cool to kind of dive into that rivalry a little bit. So obviously that was number 1 on the list. So there is that. Now let's get to Coach Lynn's. Well, let's see. Your Prince said I think 98 was his last year. That might be right.
Didn't he went and play for Carolina for a year?
He did. Yeah.
That would actually make sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what Coach Lynn said. And Jacob, if you'll read the comment, I'm going to come through Twitter and see if I can find that video real quick. Sure. And you just go ahead and give your take on it. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but go ahead, man.
I have. He goes, have y'all seen the clips of Jordan Love's footwork? He is in for a huge year, MVP season incoming. And there was that clip, and as well, there was another clip where him and, for whatever reason, Justin Fields are doing drills. And I swear on my life, I thought that this was like a diss video because they show Jordan dropping back, doing his footwork through the cones, and they show Fields, and it's so slow, and he's kicking cones, and he's barely moving in and out of like the drops, and the passes aren't really accurate. And I thought, like, did they really put that out voluntarily? Like Jordan Love looking amazing, Justin Fields looking like Justin Fields, and they were like putting in off-season work, hashtag whatever. And I just thought, man, Jordan must have just been smiling the whole time. He's like, yeah, we should post it. Let's post it. Like,
all right, so
this was even better. This was the one I was thinking of, where they're by themselves.
I'm going to try to see if I can get it to where we can. There's nothing I can do. Okay, so that's the best we can do. We'll keep the sound off. So let's just kind of key in on his footwork. I was hoping I could try to zoom in, but it definitely is not working. No, it ain't going to work. All right, so here we go. So this is Jordan Love. This came from, I want to give a shout out to the proper people here. We'll do it here in just a second. Remind me. It says GFM is the logo that's kind of watermarked on the video. We definitely want to give them a shout out because they tweeted it out. I quote tweeted them earlier. But look at the footwork, bro. Look at Jordan. Look at that. Look at that dime. Bang. This might not even be the right video. There's a bunch of videos out, but look at the footwork.
No, this is the one I was thinking of when you said that. Look at that flick of the wrist.
Yeah,
just a flick of the wrist.
Right by his ear. Look, just whoop. Dude, he almost released it behind his head. Look.
He did. He did.
On the money. Look at the footwork, right? Good. square up, dot.
And you know what's even crazier is that we watch him half the time, and he doesn't even need to set his feet. He'll
Right.
do all those same motions, but at the same time, he'll just be like, I don't need the feet, and just chuck it.
Oh, look at that one, Jacob. That's a dime.
Yeah.
Look. Let's go, dude. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm convinced. I'm convinced Jordan is the guy, dude. How convinced are you right now, Jacob, that Jordan Love is the franchise quarterback for the Packers? Give me a percentage, bro.
I realistically 92.5.
That's pretty. That is pretty damn specific.
I mean, I literally I don't. If you would have asked me this question, if I'm being honest, in week 8, I would have been like, man, I can see the signs, but I don't see him putting this all together. And it was an unreal transformation in that second half. And again, if it was just the fact that maybe I thought he had a fluke, but if you add in the fact, I really do think it's the fact that we had the youngest team in the history of the modern NFL. All these guys working together to perfect a playbook that I'm sure is not necessarily cookie cutter with Matt LaFleur. He's asking you to do some pretty exotic things in certain situations. The fact that you had an offensive line that was pieced together, the fact that you had wide receivers that were 17-year-old dudes all just getting out of frat college together, just being like, well, let's try. 2 tight ends that were rookies. I mean, by the time that they actually got, it's like herding cats. But once they started herding them in together, they were playing like a freaking unit. And I think there's no reason in my mind that these guys are going to regress. There's too much upside potential. Like, it's all floor. Last year was all floor. This year we're climbing those steps. I don't even think we're going to hit our ceiling for multiple years, but it's exciting.
All right, so I want to give credit. That video we just watched goes out to Goat Farm Sports. Go to @ capital GOAT lowercase Farm Media. So it's Goat Farm Media. Okay. They're the ones who provided that video, so appreciate them. Give a quick shout out to them. Let's see what the chat is saying about Jordan Love. And a little bit before that, M. Smitty says Watt ended his career with the Panthers in 2000. So there's that. AFAM says makes Jordan Love hard to sack. And he really is, man. He's about as evasive as they come in the pocket as far as the quarterback position. Fred McFarley, please sign this man. Amen, man. Amen. And I think that once we get everybody back in the building here on the 17th, things are really going to ramp up. I really do. I hope it gets done. And you guys know where I stand on that, man. I'm kind of nervous. Like, boy, I hope Goody doesn't play too much hardball here. Because we just talked about it, Jacob. They went toe to toe with the second best team in the league and had the lead going into the fourth quarter. The last thing you want to do is take a step back because you're kind of upsetting the chemistry and refusing to pay a man who deserves to be paid, right?
I mean, the only frustration I have now is because, like I just said, I'm bought in. I don't know what Goody needs to see. It's one of those things. Again, we revisited the Devontae Adams things. We don't have to talk about that again. I feel like it's been beaten like six dead horses. They just keep zombie horsing that thing up, and we just keep killing it again. But I don't want to see a replay of that. I don't want to say, hey, you just played like an absolute top dog at your position. Can you do it again? And maybe then we'll talk about it. And it's like, let's just give him the money, for Lord's Savior. Let's just give him the money. And I honestly don't think that Jordan Love is asking to break the bank and be, set an upper echelon like a Justin Jefferson did to that wide receiver group. I think that he just wants to get paid a fair base. I think that he should get paid at least the amount of Trevor, long hair boy. I can't remember his name for all of a sudden, some reason, but Jaguars guy. Trevor Lawrence, I would take whatever Jordan Love's resume is, and I would, even if you have to say it's the first half of the season, I felt like he's right on par with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has been very underwhelming for how much hype he had coming out of college. If that guy's getting 50 mil, 55 mil a year, I wouldn't be mad if Jordan gets that at all.
Yeah. Eric Sutherland says he's pumped. He's fired up about it. So it's very, very few and far between that you find people that don't think Jordan is absolutely the guy, right? M. Smitty says that footwork looks amazing. Coach Lynn says he throws off so many platforms. Impressive. Man, I got a chance to get invited to the Madden 25 beta. If you guys play Madden. And I was telling the guys about this. So I got to play it for a couple of weeks just to kind of test the game out and do some testing for EA and stuff. And there was one play in particular. I dropped back to throw a screen pass with Jordan Love. And when I dropped back, I had plenty of time. The rush didn't get to me too quick, so I'm just backpedaling and trying to let the screen set up. And as it goes to set up, a defensive end breaks off and kind of faces the quarterback. I'm like, oh crap, right? So I held it even longer. And when I went to throw it, a guy had gotten in my face, and they had an animation where Jordan Love dropped his elbow and threw sidearm underneath the defender.
Are you serious?
Bro, it looked like Jordan. It was sick because they said they really focused on like different styles of play and stuff. I came up off the couch, and I'm old. I about poured a butt cheek. I was like, oh, that looked like Jordan Love's arm angle. The arm angles are just absolutely unbelievable. And like Coach Lynn said, it starts with the platform for sure. 2-0 for this says, Love looks so smooth and calculated. Coach Lynn says 1,000% sure. And then this might be the comment of not. AFAM says Eric Sutherland does goat yoga. There you go. All right. So always Eric used to read goats. Eric, man. Eric Sutherland always getting beat up by AFAM in here. Eric, I can't wait to meet Eric. I swear, man. It's going to be awesome. Got to meet that cat at the draft. The draft is going to be spectacular, bro. I cannot.
Draft.
It's going to be unbelievable. So, all right. What is this? Yeah. 2-0 for this. Jordan's arms remind me of Gumby sometimes. I can kind of see that, man. It's like he just figures out a way to change platforms, change arm angles, and he looks kind of lanky when you know what I'm saying, Jacob? Like when you see him, he looks kind of skitty and lanky, but then when he gets to moving, it's like that dude has complete body control, man. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, all right, let's try to get out of these comments. It's off the rails. It's officially
Don't look at the comments anymore.
Oh no! All right, I'm so glad that most of this is on podcast, so people can't see that. But for those of you who can see it, I greatly apologize. Let's do one more quick segment here, Jacob. If that's cool with you. If I can find it, here we go. This is from NBC Sports, and I think it was actually Pro Football Talk. It says let me zoom in here just a touch. Former NFL defensive coordinator Monte Kiffin has died. Now, you guys will hear me reference Monte Kiffin when I talk about the Tampa 2 defense, right? He was one that helped create the Tampa 2 defense there with Tony Dungy in Tampa Bay. All right, so this is what the article says. Former NFL defensive coordinator Monte Kiffin died Thursday in Oxford, Mississippi, surrounded by family and friends. The University of Mississippi announced Kiffin was 84. Quote, as his grandson Knox said, he's free of pain and smiling down on us from above. Please keep the Kiffin family in your thoughts and prayers during this time, Ole Miss said in its statement. Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, who is Monte's son, Kiffin spent almost 30 years coaching in the NFL and ranks as the longest tenured coach in Buccaneers franchise history. He was with the Bucs from 96 to 08 under Tony Dungy and John Gruden, and is in the team's Ring of Honor. Kiffin joined Dungy's coaching staff as a defensive coordinator in 96 and helped create and implement the Tampa 2 defense. The team's defense improved from 27th overall in 1995 to 11th in Kiffin's first year as coordinator. During Kiffin's 13 seasons leading Tampa Bay's defense, the unit ranked in the top 10 in yards allowed 11 times and in points allowed 12 times. During the same 13-year span, the defense led the league in points allowed per game at 17.5, ranked second in takeaways with 293, and yards allowed per game at 286.8, third in interceptions at 249, and 10th in total sacks at 503. Okay, we'll just kind of end it there. Actually, we're almost done. Let's just hit it. Under Kiffin's leadership, 8 different Buccaneers defensive players made a combined 36 Pro Bowl appearances, while 6 also earned All-Pro team recognition. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, and John Lynch are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Kiffin was the Cowboys defensive coordinator in 2013. He also served as an assistant coach with the Packers, Bills, Vikings, Saints, and Jaguars. Kiffin, the head coach at North Carolina State from 1980 to 82, also was an assistant for his son at 3 different stops. Kiffin was at the Pro Football Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago to receive an award of excellence. Now, the reason I wanted to hit on that is because, listen, it's a legend in football. You know, we're a Packers show, but when someone who helped shape the game into what it is today passes away, we want to try to take the time to acknowledge them. I'm sure we'll miss many in the future, but we just try to grab them as they come here. Again, Monte Kiffin was just an absolute legend. So I'm going to pull up the Tampa 2 defense. Some people are going, what's Tampa 2 defense? We'll kind of hit it a little bit. And there's going to be some principles. We're not going to be able to cover everything. But Jacob, Monte Kiffin, any kind of thoughts triggered there about Monte Kiffin? Did you know much about him going in?
Yeah, I actually did. I mean, I didn't study him when I was a kid, but during that age, that was when I was kind of in my when I really grew up in football. I've always been a diehard Packer fan since literally I was like 3 or 4 years old. But I had a weird affinity towards the Buccaneers when they changed their logo. My 2 favorite players, maybe of all time, especially during that era, was John Lynch. It's why I wore number 47 when I was in high school. And my favorite player, maybe of all time on offense, is Mike Allstott. And those 2 players I just thought were the epitome of hard-nosed, downhill, lunch pail, freaking thunder punching meat missiles. So you can tell that's why I really gravitated towards that. So I just love that they put their bodies on the line, literally. Like they didn't give a crap. Mike Allstott would just kind of lean forward, and he was like, "Hook, grab hold if you can. I'm gonna be wherever I end up." Like, and it was the same thing on the other side with John Lynch, man.
Yeah. Anytime we mention Mike Allstott on this show, I'm always going to say, if you don't know who Mike Allstott is, go to YouTube right now. Cut this stupid show off and go to
It's
YouTube.
amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
Which, by the way, everybody watching here, appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We got like almost 300, actually over 300 watching.
Oh, yeah.
If you would hit that like button for us. If you're on Rumble, you're on YouTube, hit like, share, all that good stuff. Feel free to sub to the channel. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We're about to wrap up here. But so Tampa 2, what is Tampa 2? Well, first of all, AFAM says Derek Brooks and that defense, wowzers. You got to have the players to make that defense go. Go ahead, Jake.
Warren Sapp. I was just gonna say Warren Sapp crushed many of our dreams. The feud between him and Favre was legendary, and I believe that Warren Sapp went on record to say of the loss of Mr. Kiffin that he said, "I absolutely love that man. He will be missed deeply." Yeah, if Warren Sapp tells you, "I love you, man," that means that you're a good person. You shaped that guy's life.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, what Tampa 2 is, and we're going to show you a nickel 4-2-5 because we ran a little Tampa 2 last year with the Packers, and we did it out of the nickel. They ran it a lot out of the base in the 90s and the early 2000s because many teams were still kind of leaning on 21 and 12 personnel fairly regularly. Now you're typically getting 70 to 80% of the snaps. Actually, 70 to 85% of the snaps are in 11 personnel or greater, meaning 3 wide receiver sets that will trigger your nickel defense. So a Tampa 2 is real simple. It's a cover 2 zone defense, right? But there's a little twist to it. Typically, it's the will. Sometimes it can be the mock, depending on how it's set up. If you're in a base set, right? If you're in your base 4-3, it's the mock that will cover the seam. But in this case, when you're in a nickel 4-2-5, typically the mock will play over the Y, which is the tight end, and it'll actually be your weak side backer that covers the seam. Okay. So with the Tampa 2, it's a cover 2 zone defense where you've got 2 safeties responsible for covering half of the field deep. So you see this safety, right? He's covering this half of the field deep. This safety, same thing, right? Now, when you're talking about the will and what he's doing, the way the assignment goes is in a normal cover 2, that will would actually be covering what we call a hook zone, okay, which is just an underneath zone, all right? So you would have the corners, both corners play curl flat, and typically they would play press in the Tampa 2. Now, it does 2 different things. You can throw off the timing of the offense by rerouting the wide receivers off the line of scrimmage with a little jam. You don't have to worry about full sprint backpedaling because you've got the curl flat. You do have to get deep enough, 7 to 8, maybe 9 yards back to cover the curl and work yourself back to the flat. But also in that zone defense, you're not worried about backpedaling full speed and getting to full speed by flipping your hips. You jam at the line, you got your eyes on the quarterback. If you got your eyes on the quarterback, you got your eyes on the backfield too. So it allowed people like Rondé Barber, who played cornerback in the Tampa 2 defense under Monte Kiffin, to be aggressive in setting the edge against the run. So when you've got corners with eyes on the backfield who can come in and play the edge of the run, that allows your defensive ends to not have to worry about setting the edge. It also allows your mock, will, and Sam backers, your stack backers, to play a little more freely too because you've got outside help with those corners. So you're being aggressive underneath on the corners. Now, why don't people run Tampa 2 as much today? Because offenses figured it out. You've got your bunkers and you've got your base, right? And what I mean by that, your bunkers are your hole shots over top of the corner underneath the safety on the sidelines on each side of the field. That's a weak spot. And then you've got the center of the field in a cover 2 as well. What Tampa 2 does is it takes away that center of the field. So rather than the Will or the Mike playing a hook zone underneath, their responsibility is to play the seam. So they're turning this into a deep third. It's essentially a cover 3 defense if you need it to be. So if the slot doesn't stretch the seam or the Y doesn't stretch the seam and everybody stays underneath, then guess what? That Will can play aggressive underneath. But what teams started to do, they would attack it with the bunkers, right? The two side bunkers and the base down the seam. Now, the way that they would attack the Tampa 2 defense is they would walk that Will out with a seam shot, right? So you would send, say, the Y. Let's do it like this. Let's say we sent the Y down the seam. That's going to walk that Will out. Well, guess what happens when you walk that Will out, Jacob? Now, if you run a dig, you're going to have a huge void right here in the middle, right? Because you walk that Will out of that space or you walk that Mike out of that space. That's how teams began to attack it. So you've got the bunkers, you got the base, and you can also walk the Will out if they're in Tampa 2 and attack the middle of the field because that's going to be a huge zone opening there, especially if you put the slot on a little curl here because that nickel's got to stay at home and cover him. So imagine the nickel playing down tight on that curl in the number 2 on the left side of the field, which is the slot in this diagram, and then you just wrap around. Coach Lynn's in the chat. This is what we call wrap concept. Curl number 2, right? Curl or hook number 2 with the number 1 running a dig over top of it. So Y down the seam, walk the Will out, slot occupies the nickel, and then you would attack the void that was vacated by the Y walking the Will out in the middle of the field. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, if you're going to hit that whole shot as well, if the Will is covered in the Y, that frees up the safety to really get a bead if you do try to hit this whole shot right here on the right side. And the reason I say that's because if you try to do that and the safety takes his eyes off the Y because he knows the Will is pretty much in match coverage now against that Y down the seam, that safety can blow that Z receiver up when you try to hit that bunker shot. So there are consequences with the bunker shots. There's no doubt about that. So anything you want to add to that, Jacob? Just want to draw that out because, again, we're talking about Monte Kiffin passing away. He helped create and perfect the Tampa 2 defense down there in Tampa Bay, obviously.
Yeah, no, it's cool to kind of just look back at different concepts. Do you know is there any teams that really run that predominantly nowadays, or is it more of like a niche situation?
Every team runs it. It's just not, yeah. What they did in Tampa, it took a while for teams to figure it out because they were so physical. They had Simeon Rice playing defensive tackle.
Dude,
they had Warren Sapp playing defensive tackle. They had another edge defender that was really good at rushing the quarterback. I can't remember who it was. And then they had Derek Brooks, who would play Mike, and he would play Will. But his role was to drop deep down that third, and he was one of the fastest linebackers in the league. When they put that defense into place, one of the first draft picks they made was Derek Brooks. They said, that's the guy we want covering the seam in a Tampa 2. But yeah, to answer your question, everybody pretty much runs it. It's just how often do they run it now, right? So Coach Lynn says Dagger works versus Tampa 2 also. So there you go, man. Dagger is one that could play a role there. So good stuff, man. Anything you want to add, Jacob?
No, I'm just I'm excited. I mean, do we have a countdown? Does anybody know in the chat where we actually are now as far as I want to say I saw somebody, it was like 50 days until that Eagles game. So that means that we must be under a week until minicamp starts again, until at least rookies and quarterbacks.
The 17th, I believe the rookies and quarterbacks report. The first camp practice actually comes on July 22nd. So that will be not tomorrow, but the following Monday, we'll have our first camp practice, 10:30 a.m. Lombardi time. All right.
Wow.
So, yeah, absolutely awesome. And what's really cool is you get through that first week of camp, and then the second week we got family night. Then we got a preseason game, Jacob.
That's crazy, dude.
It's here, bro. It's here. Now, to answer your question on the regular season, obviously the season will kick off Friday, September the 6th. So that's just a little less than 2 months. Yeah, so you're probably right, about 50 days, I would say, something like that. So, and that will be in Sao Paulo, Brazil on Peacock, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. Man, that's going to be a fun game to watch. Will Jalen, let me cut y'all a little promo real quick. Will Jalen Hurts rebound from the way they ended the season last year? Will Jordan Love continue to play the way he did in the second half? Will Josh Jacobs pick up where Aaron Jones left off? right? All those questions. Xavier McKinney, is he going to be that huge addition we think he is?
Will humans become meat missiles? Tune in and see.
Exactly. So there you go. All right, let's get out of here, man. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Again, thoughts and prayers going out to obviously the hero there, Corey Comperatore, former fire chief, and obviously man just lost his life protecting his family, protecting his girls. That's what a real hero looks like right there, man. That's a real hero, and just appreciate him serving, putting his life on the line, pretty much his whole professional career, and then, like I said, sacrificed his life doing the same for his family. Jake, appreciate your time, man. This was fun, dude. And everybody take care of one another. Be nice to each other. Be kind. You know, there's going to be a lot of people trying to trigger you out there. Just hit that mute button, that block button. It got to me yesterday. And
got to me.
I had to let a couple people know, hey, bro, that you are not going to climb in my mentions. It ain't going to happen. Yeah. It happens from time to time, right? M. Smitty says, go Pack, go, and God bless the USA. Amen. Greatest country on the face of the planet. So appreciate everybody. We'll be back tomorrow night for PTA Live at 7 p.m. Central Time. Jacob, we're going to be forced to – we're probably got to jump into the Cowboys game tomorrow night, bro. We got to do it. So
I think I'll be here. I think I'll be here for that. I'll make some time.
Let me know if you can't, then we'll push it back another day. I want you to be a part of it because that was the best win of the season right there.
No, I'll be there. I got it.
Yeah, and
maybe we can dust off Tim, see if he's ready to come back.
Go. You remember the Dragon Wheel to Luke Musgrave on that? I'm pretty sure that was the game. The Dragon Wheel.
Musgrave stayed on his feet.
Absolutely. All right, we're out of here, guys. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack, go.